Hey guys, I'm Pandora Saunders and I'm a leadership coach. I specialize in identifying bottlenecks in your leadership program within your firm and then helping you create clear, actionable steps to create your leadership funnel. So, what I'm going to do today is go over the number one thing that you can do in your firm to improve your leadership within the next 90 days. This is a proven method that works better than any other method leadership coaches have used in the past to create instant change within your firm. What it is it's called the 30-minute start, stop, and continue session. And we're going to go through right now exactly what that means and each individual step. So to start off with, you're going to start with framing what the meeting is about. Then you're going to go into a silent reflection for everyone, and then group sharing on the starts items, group sharing on the stop items, group sharing on the continue items, and then you're going to close with the commitments. And this is the area where I differ slightly from my colleagues who are leadership coaches, where we're going to give you more that you can do to really implement the change within your business within the next 90 days. So stay tuned for that. So first, setting the frame. What is this? Here is where you're going to tell everyone what you're doing. You're going to set it up psychologically as a safe place for them to discuss these changes that you want to have happen. And remember, these are behavioral changes, not personal changes and feedback on an individual person. And what you're going to do is the leader is going to come in and say that today we're doing a 30-minute start, stop, continue session. The purpose is to identify small practical changes that will help us work better together, not to judge people. Okay, so what we're looking for is we're looking for observable, specific, small changes. And you're going to have the category of start. What new actions and habits do we need to improve? Stop. What actions get in the way of progress right now in the team? And then continue the behaviors that are actually working right now that we want to make sure keep going. We're looking for behavior systems and processes, not personalities. So just emphasize that again. And here, when we're talking about leaders leading these, normally when we talk about leaders, we're talking about everybody is a leader, because you start by leading yourself and developing those daily habits that you need. In this case, we're actually talking about the position of leadership. So the people who are running the teams are going to be running these meetings and getting feedback. And this is going to be something that's actually very hard for these leaders. It requires patience and biting your tongue. And we're going to go over that as we go through this. But just remember, you can do it. I believe in you. So the reminders for the leaders on setting the frame for this is that you want to emphasize that feedback is about making the work easier and outcomes better, and make it clear that there's no consequences for the honesty in here. And then there actually has to be no consequences for the honesty. Remember that. Okay, so once you've set up the frame, now you're going to start the individual silent reflections, and it should give them 5 minutes, which should be plenty of time to come up with some items. And the instructions that the leader is going to give to the team is that they need to take 5 minutes to jot down 2 or 3 items for each category. So here's where they're actually writing down their start, their stop, and their continue items. And they went 2 to 3. You want to make them concrete and observable. Think about the workflows, the communications, the meeting rhythms, deadlines, client expectations, how everybody collaborates, and have actual items that are concrete with examples. You don't want some fluffy general statement, because it rarely leads to change. You need some specific actions. So the prompts you can provide for each of them are the start. What would help you do your best work here? What new change would help you do better? Stop. What slows you down, frustrates you, or causes unnecessary rework? I'm sure everybody can come up with some stuff here. And then continue. What is currently working that we should protect as we grow? Okay, so after you've given them 5 minutes for that, and you want to make sure that you're letting them do it on their own and silent, because you don't want groupthink and you want the quieter people to contribute equally. So once you're done with that, Then we're going to move on to sharing. And we're going to start with the start items. And you're going to do this for about 7 minutes. You're going to begin with the start because it's the most psychologically safe, right? It's positive changes that could happen. And this helps with the momentum before you get into the rough, this is what we need people to stop doing section. So you're going to invite volunteers, or you can go round robin. You just want to make sure everybody shares, but you're going to have each one of them list their items, and you want to, as they're listing, capture them somewhere visually, whether it's a whiteboard or if you're on Zoom on a mirror board or something, but make sure you're capturing them visually as they're going through them. And make sure that you're summarizing after each comment. So this helps the leaders kind of focus their energy as they're hearing stuff as well, so that they're not reacting so much. They're remembering and forcing themselves to get into a different mindset of, okay, I need to say, so what I'm hearing is we benefit from starting. So they're confirming that. And then a person can clarify if it's not what they really meant. And then when they clarify, let them clarify without debating. And if you need to clarify, like for instance, they did a general statement and you need an example, don't debate, just ask for simply, can you give me an example or something. When they do give you the contributions, the proper reaction, if you do understand it and you've repeated it back and they've confirmed that you have it right, is just say, thank you, that's helpful. Thanks for participating, anything positive like that, but don't react to the comment yet. We're not going to get there until we get to problem solving. Maybe it may not even be one of the items that you need to talk about there, but it's insightful to know it does bother someone too in the future, or they feel like they need to start at this point. Okay, don't also explain any constraints or try to justify or defend what not doing, whatever it is they think they need to start. It's not the time for that. Just thank them, move on. Okay, so then you move on to the stop items, which of course is the hard one because it feels more like criticisms. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the leader knows that it's their job to facilitate any potential tension. If you need to, you can bring in different moderators if it's a hard group to work with. So it could be someone from a different team or consulting or coach or something to come in and kind of handle that. But what you want to do is keep the conversation constructive and not get emotional. And again, you're just going to go around, do the round robin or have people volunteer. You're going to capture the items exactly as stated. Don't soften them. Don't reinterpret them. Just do the statement, okay, so what you're saying is we need to stop, or can you give an example so we can all understand the behavior? Keep your tone neutral. Don't get worked up at all. And when the feedback is directed at you, model maturity, be a leader. Just let them know, thanks, that's helpful. Thank you for pointing that out. And so what you want to do is just take the feedback, don't debate it. Let it. And this is actually going into one of our skills that we usually cover in consulting, which is taking and accepting feedback and responding to it appropriately. So it helps reinforce that leadership principle. So it's very good practice for your leadership here. What you've got to stay away from is personal attacks, vague comments like communication needs to improve. It needs to be, okay, we need to have this recorded in Slack rather than people texting each other, something very specific. Keep away from the vague. And then reframe if something goes sideways. So for instance, someone says, John always ignores deadlines. Reframe it. So it sounds like the team needs clear deadlines or clear ownership of deadlines or clear accountability or, whatever's needed there. So try to keep it on track with being a safe place for them to talk about this. And then once you're done with that section, you're going to move on to the continue. This is also a positive. So we started with a more positive section, went through the hard section, and then we're moving on to a little bit more positive to soften it a little bit more. Again, you're going to go around with the team, have them list their items for what they need to continue doing as a team that's working really well. capture them visually, clarify, and highlight the themes. So, for instance, I'm hearing we should continue daily stand-up meetings. I'm hearing that we should continue with how willing we are to help each other. Those kind of items. It really reinforces that you guys are doing a really good job. We're just looking for what we can change now. Now, this also protects your culture. So if they've developed a culture like really helping each other, it really strengthens that as well, and it boosts morale. Okay, so you've gotten through that, and now we're going to go on to the commitment section. And this is where I differ from other leadership coaches, because this, I think, goes into what I harp on quite a bit, which is that there's no clear plan. It's like you go into the same meeting again and again in business, and you talk about the same problems and nothing ever happens. So most coaches at this point would say, okay, we need to pick 1 or 2 items per category and I'll work on it, which is great. So you do need to pick 1 or 2 items in each category. My suggestion would be and this kind of depends on how your team functions, what exactly you're doing. I would prefer seeing each person pick 1 in each category. And the reason is because after that, then you want to discuss, okay, these are the items. Now I want you to go research why they're important, how you can implement them into your work personally, who you can observe, who does this really well. And then at the next meeting, the next week, so hopefully you're having regular meetings with your team. And so there should be a normal team meeting where you can kind of do this in, or if you want to do it better, you can actually do a separate meetings just for this. But you want them to briefly, in the next meeting, give feedback on how they progressed with each of those. So if you have time in this meeting and you want to go a little bit beyond 30 minutes, you could say, okay, I want everybody to pick 1 out of each category and list how you're going to implement it in your daily job. And then at our weekly meeting next week, I want you to tell me 1 thing that you've read, or maybe 3 things that you've watched on YouTube that have helped you understand this principle and how you can apply it more, or, tell me who you're going to observe and what you saw from them, but give them assignments. That's really what's missing in a lot of this leadership training, is those assignments and the accountability and the feedback to really get moving and having clear, actionable steps for the employees to take. If you generally say, we want you to take ownership of your work, okay, what's the clear, actionable steps there? So that's what we're trying to come up with. But what you want to do is think about it even ahead of time, like, how am I going to help them implement some of these? And most of these items that you talk about, they're either in the technical world or they're in the leadership world. And if they're in the leadership world, there's a leadership skill that they should be developing, and it can actually help identify that personal path for each of your employees on what they need to start with in their learning. Okay, but that's a whole nother podcast. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come back and revisit it. Now, hopefully you're doing weekly meetings. If it's 3 weeks later, okay, 3 weeks later. But if you're going to go that long, I really would suggest like checking in with them by email in between, saying, okay, show me where you're at with your assignments. How's that going? I wouldn't just let it go 3 weeks where everybody forgets about it and then you have to have a meeting. All right. So that's how that session is run. Just some pro tips. Use a neutral facilitator if you need to. I kind of discussed that earlier. Make the feedback behavior-based, like things that they need to specifically change. So for instance, people need to be more accountable. That's very vague. Make it, we need to confirm deadlines, or we need to follow up within 48 hours, very specific. 3, limit problem solving during the session. So leave that to the end. We're going to talk problem solving there. Model the non-defensiveness as a leader. Please, please, please stress this with your leaders before you go into the meetings. This is a great, tell them this is a great training moment for you. I want to see awesomeness. Pump them up, get them doing it. Okay. And then 5, follow up consistently. The fastest way to kill trust on a feedback session is to do nothing afterwards, not follow up. It's really bad. But if you want to see change happen within 90 days, this is by far the best way that you're going to do this. So if you find this helpful, please comment below. Go ahead and click subscribe, help out our channel, and you can always contact me if you'd like more information. Thanks and have a great day.